One guy told me how he made his money in life. I almost couldn't believe it. I work at a retirement home, so old people saying crazy things is kind of just a part of my daily routine. One of my favorite old heads was this guy Sanders. He was super sharp for someone his age, and he was aware that since he was old, he could get away with saying things that someone my age would probably get fired for. He used this ability to crack some of the funniest dirty jokes I've ever heard. He seriously could have been a comedian. He was also a bit of a Casanova at the retirement home. He was super loaded, so he definitely could afford to be living on his own. But he told me that living at the retirement home was like being in college again, surrounded by single women. He would always be telling me about which girl he was seeing at the time. I know they are old, but believe me, they still can get frisky, especially Sanders. The one thing that Sanders never talked about was his job. He didn't really have any family visiting or anything, and I knew he was paying for the retirement home himself, which is pretty expensive. He also was always buying designer clothes, and he looked just as funny in them as you were imagining. I always thought it was impolite to ask, so I never did. One day I was cooking some dinner for him, and I casually asked him if he liked to cook. His response was, "I used to," but then the cops found out. Thankfully, they didn't find all the money. I almost dropped the plate I was holding at the time. I looked at him and asked, "What do you mean by that, Sanders?" He smiled with his signature mischievous grin and said, "You know exactly what I mean."